It's the Goldilocks rule here. You want to get it just right. You don't want to be in the first image on the left. You don't want to be too close to the bud because you might either nick the bud or the bud may dry out. The image on the far right is just right. It's angled away from the bud. There's a tiny bit of a stub, but not a long stub. And that's what you're looking for.
There's a prohibited list, plants that cannot or should not be sold because of their invasive species component. And then also there's a regulated list, plants that are invasive species, but in certain situations can be sold and used.
What is a native plant? It's one that grows in the same habitat it originated in. And plants can be native to continent, states, or regions.
If you do have these products, the first thing is don't use them, okay? Not just because it's illegal to do it. The reason is the risk to pollinators is too high.
If we're able to delay our plantings until June 1st, most of the common ragweed, and if not all of the common ragweed, will already have emerged. So if you can come through and rototill or prepare your garden for planting after that, you'll basically won't have any common ragweed in most of New York.
Now start with pre-baiting, which means we're going to give them the food without setting the trap.
It was mowed at 3.5 inches, and the dandelions are doing just great. They're able to survive that mowing. When it was taken down to 3 inches, we still have quite a bit of dandelions that are able to survive that. And it wasn't until 2-inch height of cut that we reduced the flowering from the dandelions in those plots.
Truth is, clippings do not contribute to thatch. Thatch happens to be a dense layer of stems and other material that lay on top of the soil and are formed because of an imbalance of fertility, of acidity, and also compaction, and the lack of microorganisms to break down that thatch that would normally be there.
And then things like these corrugated downspouts can actually lead to a lot of mosquito breeding inside the ridges. Because after all the water comes down your downspout, those ridges hold water after the fact, and it will allow mosquitoes to effectively breed in there.
These are eggs laid by the winsome fly, and they've actually released it to try and get control of the adults. It kills the adults in about 6 to 7 days, which is pretty fast for biological control. So if you see a Japanese beetle with these little white eggs on it, you might want to leave it because then the next generation will hatch out, and so it'll increase the population in your area.
The box tree moth is a relatively recent invasive species in New York State, and it's one that is largely, almost exclusively, a pest of ornamental boxwoods.
Bedbugs aren't everywhere, but they can be anywhere, and people inadvertently pick them up, bring them home, and they may not know they have them for a period of time.
I'm going to answer this question right off the bat here in a few seconds. You found a bug at home, now what? Answer is relax. You know, it's all good. You have to figure out what it is to see if you do have to worry about it.
Our main takeaways here from these 4 years of data is really that the Asian longhorn tick and the Lone Star tick are definitely present in the southern portions of our state, but we didn't collect any samples of either of these ticks in the western or northern regions of New York State.
Providing large feeders, different seed combinations to bring in a variety and a diversity of birds into your garden, offering some fatty food in the winter.
The next thing, which goes along perfectly with the previous talk, is to put it outside for bird shelter. Put it close to your bird feeder. You can also add bird food on it.